Last night I was out at dinner at a pretty nice restaurant here in Bangkok, and there was a guy in there. They got into an argument with the staff members. I'm not sure what it was over, but he eventually got dragged out by a security guard, and I'd forgotten all about it. And by the time I left, it had obviously continued outside, because we went outside and the guy was being dragged away by police and thrown into the back of a cop car. And I thought, what an idiot. Why would you ruin your holiday like that? So today I'm going to talk about common mistakes I see people doing here in Thailand. Most of these are no-brainers, but it's clear that a lot of people come here with no brain. So the first one that we'll discuss is painfully obvious, and that's stay out of trouble when you're here. So recently I started following a couple of Facebook groups that are news related. So there's one in Pattaya and one in Bangkok, and they post the headlines of what's happening each day. And it's mostly targeted towards foreigners, and it's just unbelievable to me to see how many people are just doing stupid things, getting arrested, getting deported, getting kicked out of the country is a big one. It's unbelievable how many people commit stupid crimes, get arrested, and then get themselves thrown out of the country. Now, getting thrown out of the country is a stupid thing, and it sucks, obviously. But the worst thing is you get banned from the country, you get blacklisted. It's like 5 years or 10 years, depending on what you do. And this happens more often than you'd think. A lot of the times these people get in trouble by police and they get shaken down for ridiculous amounts of money, or you find yourself in court facing deportation, and getting yourself banned from here for 5 years would just be, God, such a stupid thing, over ruining your holiday basically. I have seen countless people get arrested, especially in Pattaya. It seems to happen a lot, or I see it a lot more. I'm sure it happens plenty in Bangkok as well, but you know, the majority of the time it's around drinking, and you know, you shouldn't drink on an empty head, and people still do, and people do dumb things thinking that you can get away with it here, or I think a lot of people think you can buy your way out of anything here, and that's not always the case. So for the love of God, if you wouldn't behave that way back home, don't bring that shit here. The second one is getting screwed over for prices, and sometimes this is unavoidable, but I see it all the time, especially here in Bangkok. I'll see people haggling with taxi drivers or with tuk-tuk drivers on the side of the road. I often try and help people. I'll ask them where they're going and tell them what they should pay so they don't get screwed, because I'll overhear things and the taxi drivers just try and take people for an absolute ride if they know nothing about what they should be paying. My recommendation is to always use apps like Grab or Bolt. Bolt is the better one, it's cheaper, but it's getting much harder to use in Bangkok. They're almost impossible to use in Bangkok at the moment, but Pattaya, it's still great, and also other parts of the country. Grab and Bolt is definitely the way to go. The taxi scam thing is tough, and sometimes the dollar amount that they're charging you is not that bad, especially compared to what you pay for an Uber back home. So I understand people wanting to just say like, whatever, I'll just pay the 200 baht, but it encourages them to steal from people. Steal from their company is a big one, and it's just encouraging dishonest behavior. So I did a video recently on how to get around it, or how to try and get around it. I'll leave a link for that either here or here, I can't remember which side. But I think the best practice is to pay what you should pay on the meter, and then tip them generously. I often tip for them for doing the right thing and not trying to hustle you, and hopefully it encourages them to keep doing that. Next up, motorcycles. And I could honestly make an entire video just on this. There's so many different things I see around motorcycles that I just shake my head at people doing. Firstly, if you have no experience on a bike, or not much experience on a bike, coming out here and renting a bike, renting a high power bike and just going crazy is a stupid idea. On my recent trip to Phuket, I was astounded at how many people were in accidents, how many times I'd see people crashing off the side of the road, people hurt. They call it the Phuket tattoos if you've got bandages and scars and scabs all over your body. I think Phuket has the highest, it's either the highest death rate or the highest motorcycle accident rate per capita in the whole world. And it's basically people come over here, rent bikes, go crazy. They've got very little bike experience. There's crazy roads in Phuket, everywhere here in Thailand. And I think people just completely overestimate their abilities on a motorcycle. Another thing that comes into that is licensing. So a lot of people will come out here without the correct license. And if you were to get into an accident, your insurance won't cover you if you don't have the correct license. Add to that, if you get stopped by police, you'll have to pay a fine for not. So you can come over with an international driving permit, but as long as it's from an approved country for one, and as long as you actually have a motorcycle license in your home country. So just having a car license and the international driving permit won't actually cover you. You also need to have both your actual home license and your international driving permit on you at the time. A photo isn't good enough. And then if you have any alcohol in your system, then forget about it. That's all out the window. So if you come out here with travel insurance, checking that it covers motorcycle accidents for one is a big thing. I know a lot of the companies in Australia that I was looking at before I moved out here, they don't cover you on motorcycle accidents in Southeast Asia. Obviously there's so many of them and they just don't want to cover that. So if you do have any kind of health insurance or travel insurance, check the policy and check that it does cover you for riding and what you need, because a lot of the times you will need to be licensed, have all the correct paperwork on you for you to actually be covered. So a question I'm always asked is, who do I use for insurance? And I use Safety Wing. I've used them since I first moved out here, and actually so do all of my friends that live here as well. I started with Safety Wing back during the pandemic. Insurance was compulsory back then, but after that ended, I decided to continue with them because insurance is definitely something you want here. And Safety Wing was the best and cheapest option out there. Thankfully, I haven't had to use them for a claim, but Dan did twice. And he said great things about their service. They paid him back really quickly. And he said, the whole process was really easy. So that pretty much sealed the deal for us. Safety Wing just announced Nomad Health, which is a health insurance for remote workers, expats, and people living abroad. I'll leave a link for them below, but the coverage is extensive. It's available in 175 different countries and coverage of up to $1.5 million, and even the ability to choose your own doctor, which is a great thing. And as I said, Dan used them, made a claim with them, and he said the communication and everything, the whole service was excellent. If you're traveling or living abroad, you want insurance. It's something you should factor into your regular cost of living, and for me, I believe Safety Wing's one of the best options out there. So I'll leave a link. Everything you need to know is down below. Next up is a funny one, and I understand why people do it, and that's not trying the local food here or trying street food here. Now, I have a background in hospitality and working in restaurants, so I understand when you see food that's been sitting out, especially if it's meat sitting out, you think there's no way I'm going to be able to eat that and be okay. And I honestly used to be like that myself, but I since now eat just about anywhere, and I find the best food is in these places. And I had it explained to me recently why it's okay a lot of the time. So usually, hopefully, the meat that's sitting out, there's ice underneath it. Not always, but often there is. But when food gets cooked in a wok, it gets cooked at a super high heat. So I think bacteria dies at 66 degrees or something like that. And basically when you cook in a wok at that super high speed and high heat, it kills all that bacteria. Now, funnily enough, I've never actually been sick from street food, and I eat anywhere. I don't care what it looks like. I'll eat all those places. The irony is the 2 times I've had food poisoning here, once was from a Japanese restaurant, which is actually a great restaurant, and I don't go back there anymore, which is a shame. The second one was from a pizza place in Pattaya, and I think I was just unlucky. So I've since been back there a bunch of times and I've been fine. But that's it, honestly. And I eat in markets, street food, on the side of the road, all those questionable looking places. I've tried all of them. And not only will you be fine, that's where you often find the best food here. And lastly, we have not interacting with locals. And I'm not talking about going down to a bar on Soy 6 and flirting with all the girls down there. I mean, interacting with locals properly, walking through a local neighborhood, meeting people. I mean, you'll know, and not to say that you can't have these experiences from meeting girls in bars, because if you've ever gone to eat with their family or share an experience with their friends, outside of those environments, you have these amazing cultural experiences. And I do think most of you watching have been in these situations. If you're watching this video, you're quite interested in Thai culture or the lifestyle of living here in Thailand. So you would have found yourself in those situations before. And you'll know from experience that when you do that, it can be the simplest thing, just having lunch with a family in a you know, whatever setting can be one of the most memorable experiences for you of your trip here in Thailand. Honestly, Thai people are some of the friendliest people in the world, and Thai hospitality is something else. And if you haven't experienced that, you're missing out.